Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the fabulous, world-famous Lock and Load show, broadcasting across the interwebs, across the universe, simulcast on gun channels, and we're gonna do our, I guess, the last Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts goes away August 1st, and here we are on the 29th of July. So I'm gonna get in some news and talk about current events a little bit here. So let me see if I can find my news Q tag here. All right, so at Baltimore Washington International Airport, they apparently a veteran was coming, active duty military, not a vet, active duty military person was coming home from a Mideast deployment, and he wanted to bring home a souvenir, which TSA confiscated at the airport. It was an unloaded, what you're looking at on the right there, the Griffin 2 missile. So I'm not. It's apparently made by Raytheon Systems, but I don't know why. I mean, he thought he could get. I thought when you leave for at the end, when you go back to the States after Mideast deployment, don't they like just check everybody's bag at the base?
They always told us they'd do it, and they never did.
Okay.
You want to know? Okay, you want to know how you sneak that stuff back? I'll tell you off air.
UPS it.
Yeah. No, there are ways, depending on what it is. I mean, if it's really big, you're not going to get it back. But there are ways to bring stuff back. But overall, I mean, you really don't see people bringing back anything that's really deadly. It's not to say that, like, they find all the time, like a World War II veteran brought home a grenade from the war, and it's been in their attic for 70 years, and after they die, somebody finds it, and they got to call the bomb squad. So, I mean, dangerous stuff does sneak through, but most of the time, it really is just kind of a souvenir. I mean,
right.
If you wanted the stationery off of Saddam's desk in one of his palaces, that wouldn't have been hard to get, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, you could try and sell it later on eBay, I guess, in the future at some point, but as a historical curio. But this was an unloaded rocket launcher, and I guess they just confiscated it, and he wasn't searched until he hit the airport. So
okay, well, so he's coming on a civilian, so you tell. It's kind
of, you're really roboting. At least I don't know if it's me. Is it me, or is it just me, or are you roboting? It sounds to me like you're roboting. I don't know if it's just me. So I'll give you like a minute to move down the street because I know you're driving home. But all right, well, I'll move on to the next story. I know. I wish Jared was here. He's working. He's going for a job interview at an Air Force base, and so he couldn't be here tonight. So I thought he would at least tell us what the capabilities of the Griffin 2 missile are. Let me see if I can just scroll back and read about it a little. Current Griffin 2 warhead. 13 pounds total weight. I mean, he didn't have the warhead, just the launcher, but 4.9 pounds of high explosive steel case internally stored. Again, he didn't have the warhead, he just had the empty launcher. All right. Next story. This is like when I said Oklahoma Link. I haven't seen him here, but I'm going to play this. You probably can't see it, but this, what you're looking at, if you can see it, is right across from the Mirage on the Las Vegas Strip. It's a grasshopper in grasshoppers, lots of them. It's a swarm. So the Las Vegas Strip was totally swarmed by millions and millions of grasshoppers. And that's a video of it. We're just walking right across from the Mirage on the Strip. I have the audio off. But It's just, there's a lot of this. I thought Oklahoma would be interested in this because his garden was attacked by grasshoppers. So I guess it's not just in Oklahoma there. It's that I don't know if it's the heat or a lot of the mainland is hot right now, or if it's just the time of the year or what, because I'm not a grasshopper expert, but there's the mirage and the Thoreau. There it is. There it is right across the street. This grasshoppers swarming like crazy. Probably has something to do with the heat. But this is the desert. So, and it's summer. It's got to be like 120 degrees even at like 2 in the morning right now in Vegas. So it's like steaming, and just walking down the street. I mean, at least the casinos are air conditioned inside, but boy, you've got to walk through a real plague of locusts to get into one. That's just badass. But there's some dedicated partiers, I guess. They're supposed to be harmless to people, but they'll eat your crops if you're trying to grow something. Doesn't look like fun trying to walk through that or on it. All right, so there's another story that's coming out there. Let's see. All right, so I have some after chat stuff. I bought some batteries today for got one of those blacklight flashlights for checking currency and bed bugs and stuff like that, or blood trails. I needed to get some. I got a like an ultrafire blacklight flashlight, off Amazon, and then I got here and I realized that didn't realize till then that I needed some 18650 batteries, which I didn't have. So went to Battery Junction and ordered some and a charger for them. So anyhow, that's about the last prep I do. The other news that I'm coming is we are have a hurricane bearing down on the Big Island here. Let's go to my bookmark, see if I can find it. Hawaii. Yes. Scroll down. Central Pacific Hurricane Center. Ought to be a good one. So it's Tropical Storm Eric. It's almost a Category 1, but not quite yet. Okay, it has become a hurricane. Eric becomes a hurricane and heads into the Central Pacific. So looking at, here it is right now, and the arrival time seems to indicate from this NOAA forecast Thursday at 8 a.m., but it's slightly south of the Big Island. This could be good or this could be bad, because usually if it's headed right towards the east tip of the island or in between South Point and the east tip, then we have Kilauea and Mauna Loa, which will usually break up the hurricane and the weather patterns around it. But if this thing goes south, which it is right now, and then just turns right after it rounds the tip, then it could clobber Kona for sure. But it could miss us entirely, so we'll just have to, one of those things you have to wait and see and hope for the best. Let's see if I could find the vapor map of it. Let's see. Where is it? Satellite imagery or radar imagery? Let's see. I got to pick the right thing here. Geos West, Central Pacific, water vapor loop. That'll do it. There it is. So it's this thing right here. It's now a level 1 hurricane. and it's heading to Hawaii. And it should arrive, we should have storm force winds or hurricane force winds on the Big Island Thursday at 8 a.m. So I've got, if you're on the Big Island or anywhere in Hawaii, I've got a list of hurricane preps playlist, or you can just look at your phone book or go to Civil Defense website and learn how to be prepared. All right. I pretty much don't have to do too much to prepare. I'm just going to leave my, pretty much been, had my water distiller, countertop water distiller going, filling up all my receptacles. And other than that, I don't have to do too much. I'll do a little cleaning, take out some trash. Not too much that I haven't already done. So I might take a camera and go to Walmart and watch everybody panic buying stuff that they shouldn't be panic buying, or buying stuff that will go bad if like the power goes out. Like if somebody buys like 5 dozen eggs and the power goes out, then well, they have like a couple hours to eat 5 dozen eggs before they go bad. But it's everybody piles into Walmart at the last second, pretty much right before the day before the hurricane, and it's almost inevitable. It's like Groundhog Day or something whenever there's a hurricane. But anyhow, all right, there's a very vapor loop on that. It's coming, so be ready. Aren't satellites wonderful? All right. So got that out there. Boy, did we lose Squib? Yeah, Squib was driving home, and so boy, he was roboting and probably dropped out. He'll be back. Let's see what else is going on. Get my notes here. Right. I'm going to be making some bushcraft videos of interesting kinds. Let's see. Rand Paul offers to buy a ticket to Somalia for Ilhan Omar. Let's see. Yes, how could there possibly be gun violence in California when it's against the law to take an assault rifle into public? Right. Well, could nuclear fusion be a reality by 2025? Oh, here's an interesting one. As protests intensify, activist leader urges U.S. to stop selling riot gear to Hong Kong police. Well, I bet a good portion of that gear that they don't want the U.S. to sell to the Hong Kong police is made in China. Okay. I don't know about the tear gas, but possibly. Thing is, I heard a news thing on a news flash on I think Fox News that China is doing naval exercises in the South China Sea, and so I don't know if that's has anything to do with Hong Kong. But if the last time I remember South China Sea exercises, it was when they were doing when Clinton was president, and they were doing mock invasions of Taiwan, and then Clinton sent in the 7th Fleet into the Taiwan Straits, and then some Chinese general threatened to nuke Los Angeles. And that was when I was living in Los Angeles. But they didn't do that. It isn't easy to get a troop transport across the Taiwan Straits against determined opposition if the opposition is the United States Navy. I mean, I think one Seawolf submarine could do an awful lot of damage to just a troop carrier. Say nothing of harpoon missiles, tomahawks, and stuff like that. The China's upset not only they over perceived U.S. interference in Hong Kong, the civil unrest there. they're upset because the U.S. signed like a $2 billion arms deal with Taiwan to sell them M1 tanks and I think some jet fighters and some other stuff. So, but they're always happy. They're always unhappy whenever U.S. does anything with Taiwan. So, I'm not really. I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. I mean, if they need to, they'll send in the Navy, and the Navy will hopefully discourage any Chinese adventurism. There's nothing like a carrier task force to calm everyone the fuck down. But we do have a task force around the Persian Gulf, and I think Russia and Iran are doing joint exercises, and they just seized the Iranians seized some British tanker, and of course Britain doesn't have their navy isn't what it used to be, and their military isn't what it used to be. Just they downsized the numbers, so their forces. So I don't know how they're going to get their tanker back, but nobody's going. I don't think anybody wants to go to a war over one oil tanker. So it's just a question of Iran not throwing a hissy fit because their economy is tatters after the sanctions, and they can't get around them due to the U.S. control of the SWIFT system, pretty much. That's benefit of having the world's reserve currency, which is why they shouldn't be printing so much money. I guess when they raise the debt ceiling once again. So who knows? It's a crazy world. All you can do is enjoy life every day as a gift, and be prepared. Just do your regular prepping and don't worry about it. Maybe Judgment Day is inevitable. I don't know. But if you're prepared, then you've done everything you can do. It's just a question of enjoying life and dealing with what comes up. All right, so I'm going to take a look at the external, wait for like some panelists to show up. I sent Oklahoma a link. I don't know if he can make it. Dusty is asleep because it's late in Michigan, and Squibb is on his way home driving. So I'll wait for him to go home and find that bottle of old granddad's out of his cabinet, wherever he hides his liquor from his kids. Let me see if I can find the external here, see what's happening. There it is. Starvation helps trigger change to the swarming behavior. Local rains. Tactical umbrella stand? I'm not sure what that means. Jesse James, Vanessa Kitty, local 223. Local rains in Vegas? I guess. I don't know. I haven't been following the weather in Las Vegas lately. But basically, when I saw that, I knew that Oklahoma had his garden, a lot of it eaten by locusts. So thought it might be interesting. I don't know why. It's just the rains or the heat or what? I don't know. I mean, there's nothing in the Vegas Strip for them to eat. So why would they swarm there? I mean, it's just concrete. So that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you saw the video. So yeah, I've got some ideas for some bushcrafting videos I want to make. I want to pull some, I want to do basically I saw like for the 10 millionth time, Predator was on cable TV. And so I want to do a standing deadfall trap video. I'm going to do a downsized trap because I don't think, I know somebody that has some lumber too, like the full size one, but I don't know if he was going to want to go to the trouble and of let me onto his ranch to do that. So I'll just make a smaller standing deadfall trap in like the lot next out behind the condo or something. And also I want to do another one, a spring up trap, which was that they where in the movie Green Beret, when Sergeant Peterson gets killed by a trap, it's basically a spring up trap where the tree lifts him up into the air. I mean, the noose kind of wraps around his ankle, brings him up in the air, and then he just crashes up against a prepared kind of bed of spikes, punji sticks. Of course, I'm not going to use punji sticks or anything. I just have to find a volunteer who doesn't mind being flung up into the air upside down for a while until I can cut him down. But that's what. So it's just some bushcrafting stuff that I like, and I think I could do the spring up trap when the alien get in Predator gets lifted up into the trees. But that required, I think, like that was like 4 like trees that were bent over to spring him up into the air. Basically, he walked onto a net and it triggered, and I think I would need 4 trees for that. So I'm gonna have to find a good spot to do that. And unusually wet year so far in Las Vegas, which has already exceeded annual rainfall, is responsible for the grasshoppers' arrival, said Jeff Knight. I don't know who Jeff Knight is, but okay. Yeah, I mean, when it rains in Vegas, I mean, it's the desert. So all I know is it's either really, really hot or really, really cold. Yeah, they might be attracted to the lights for sure. There's plenty of that. I mean, there's nothing on the strip for them to eat. So at least I've walked up and down the strip and I didn't see any green. I mean, there's water fountains. They didn't show any the water features with the swarms around them. Would have been a good one. Oh. So let's see. Some California federal judge said the Second Amendment doesn't apply to semi-automatic rifles. It's like the day before the whole shooting thing at the Garlic Festival in California. I guess they're keeping pretty tight-lipped on the whole history of how that happened or why, or what kind of gun or anything like that. So I guess we can. If Squib was on, I would let him rant, but he's probably still driving home from work.
They're not being tight-lipped. They're just being evasive.
What's the difference?
Evasive means that they might not know. Or implies that they might not know. Tight-lipped implies that they know. They just don't want to tell you. I mean, the thing is, though, how hard is it? I mean, I watched their press conference from today, and it was pathetic. They dodged every question, and it's like, okay, it's been 24 hours, and you're telling me you don't even know. And the other thing too is, okay, so if you listen to the answers they gave to their questions, the way they worded their answer one way implied that he was at large still. And the way they worded another response implied that they had killed him. Okay, so which is it? And I thought it was real weird that the one guy comes out and goes, I'm so-and-so, and right after this conference, I've lost my job, and there'll be a new person. And it's like, wow, what did you do to screw up? But, I mean, as far as I know, they killed him, and he got a lot of people. At least 2 are dead. There are a lot of others injured. And he was living in Nevada. He was from there, but he was living in Nevada, bought the gun in Nevada, came back with it, went through an opening and opened fire. was engaged by local police and the FBI. And I find it weird that they would have the FBI there. Not saying they knew. I'm not one of those conspiracy morons that says, oh, they planted this to take away our rights. But why would you have the FBI at this event?
Maybe they like garlic.
Yeah. And as far as the local police being there, that should be pretty standard. I would think it would be the sheriff more so than the local PD. But he was face to face with them, and 3 or 4 of them gunned him down. He was shooting at them, and they were shooting at him. And I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid. I doubt he probably could hit the broadside of the barn with that thing. But what I want to know is, how do you walk through an opening of a fence and walk into a thing like this with a rifle, and nobody says anything until you open fire? I mean, what did he have it in a guitar case or something? I mean, how do you don't just sneak in with a rifle? So you're going to tell me they had all that law enforcement there and all these people there, and nobody saw him until he pulled the trigger?
There may have been nobody at the fence line. They were probably watching the people at the garlic festival, or watching the it's like a cooking festival demonstration where people show how to cook dishes with garlic. So maybe they were watching the event and the people watching the event instead of the fence line.
Regardless, I mean, I understand. A lot of people are just, and don't get me wrong, I am not 100% of my time head on a swivel vigilant, but a lot of times I'm head on a swivel vigilant. And when I'm at a public event, especially with my family, my first priority is their safety, not my fun. I mean, even when we were at Disney, as much security as they had, I was still keeping an eye on things, making sure my family was okay before I was watching the event or whatever it was. And I just can't believe nobody noticed this guy until he pulled the trigger.
Well, I assume it's over a large grounds, and they weren't watching the whole. There wasn't people watching the whole area. I mean, it's a large space. I assume that's why.
Well, this is a tragedy, but the guy who did it, he bears half the responsibility. The other half of the responsibility falls on every government employee in the state of California, past and present, or that represents the state of California, like the Ninth Circuit, who have done everything in their power to disarm the population. If that was Michigan, and the people holding the event were not searching people coming in, or not posting a notice saying no open carry, there would have been so many guns at that place, you wouldn't have needed to have law enforcement there to stop him.
Okay, but the simple fact is, the guy, he starts shooting, and 60 seconds later he's dead, right? That's basically the fact.
Yeah, well, if people were allowed to open carry there, he might not have got one round off. You can't count on a handful of cops or combined law enforcement to cover things. I was at a concert, one of our local amphitheaters last year, and once again, head on a swivel, and I'm looking around, and there was a cop to the left and a cop to the right, and 9 cops crowded together in the center. They were not spread out in any way. Somebody could have very easily started something on one side, and it would have taken those 9 cops in the center a long time to get through the crowd to get over to whoever it was. And I was thinking, this is really not, I mean, these guys are, I don't know. I wasn't too impressed with the fact that they would group themselves together like that. So I mean, and I wasn't at so I don't know how they were, or what was going on. Were they in communication with each other? Were they all covering a certain area? Whatever. But if the locals were allowed to open and conceal carry there, because there were no prohibitive laws, there would have been enough firepower there that they wouldn't have needed law enforcement at all. So I blame, to some extent, all of the, not just politicians, but any government employee who had a hand in disarming the population of California.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to say about that? The garlic shooting? I don't have a lot to say about it. It's sad.
They're going to use it. They're going to use it, of course, in two ways. One, California's going to go, see, we need more gun laws. I mean, they just passed the damn ammunition thing, and it didn't help. So I think that they're going to, and here's the thing: if you buy a gun in Nevada and you have a California driver's license, they're going to tell you to go away. They're not going to. So this guy had to live in Nevada long enough to get a Nevada license and have a Nevada address.
Hmm.
An FFL will not sell you a gun if you're from California.
Yeah, well, they know about that's a California Nevada thing or a California Arizona thing. In Hawaii, I mean, I could buy a gun with just a California driver's license, but I mean, Hawaii isn't California. I mean, I don't think anything is as bad as California, although Hawaii is catching up pretty quick the way they're going.
I'm wondering if California is going to pressure the states that border it to have more gun control or more restrictions or whatever. I mean, they've done it with the fuel emissions. They're doing it with the gun stuff. It's really hard to say. The other thing is they're going to use this because, you know, Trump had one reaction and Kamala Harris had another reaction. And, you know, they're going to say Trump doesn't care. And then they're going to be using this as this is going to be something they're going to be talking about. I mean, I know that gun control comes up anytime there's the elections, but this and every shooting that happens between now and election day is going to be just fuel for the fire to go, we're going to be tough on gun control, we're going to make America safe, and people are going to fall for that bullshit.
Yeah, but there's so much bullshit being spread around, which is standard for any election, but it seems to get worse every year.
You know, the question I have is, you're going to tell me nobody knew. Once again, nobody knew. Now, that's not to say that somebody can't keep a secret from their family and their friends. You can't. It is entirely possible. But you're going to tell me nobody knew. Nobody saw the warning signs. Nobody. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just, and I'm not implying that we need red flag laws. By no means. But if I thought one of my children was a little bit unstable, I don't know that I would send their ass off to another state. I might be keeping an eye on them a little bit more.
Well, it's just like sometimes it feels so hopeless that there's like no solutions to any of the problems of evil in the world, and people choose to do evil things.
Well, I mean, he's a legal adult. Okay, he's been an adult for a year. He has every right to move out of his parents' house and go live his own life. That's really what you're supposed to do. And I'm not saying they bear any responsibility because now he's a legal adult. He's his own person. Mom and dad are not responsible for him anymore. But the whole thing is, it's like, I just got to wonder, how did you raise your kid? And you're telling me that he hasn't been acting a little weird lately, or he never acted weird, or I mean, just, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, that's why when all this stuff was happening and they just had the endless loop on the shooting and the statement from the police, I just turn on. I'm like, thank God it's Shark Week, so I can just turn on Discovery Channel and watch like sharks, because you know the thing with animals or predators is you can tell exactly, you can read them a lot easier than you can people, and they're just a lot. I mean, like, you know, if a dog is going to attack you, there's a lot of signs you could tell. And the same thing with sharks. So plague will break out in Los Angeles. Well, the only plague they have there is homelessness and stupidity, and road rage from driving on the freeways, through traffic jams. But I suppose people could be pissed at taxes, but Well, it's a problem with no real solution. Uh, Taking away everybody's freedom isn't going to fix anything.
No, my solution is to arm the population. Or give them the opportunity to be armed. I'm telling you, he went in there because he knew nobody had a gun. And if he knew that there was law enforcement there, he might have wanted them to kill him, or he might have wanted to try to take as many of them, look like he's a real badass because he took down a couple cops. Because he knew he was going to be out gunning them because they're going to have handguns. But he might not even know. The cops could have all been undercover. They could have been plain clothes. But the whole point is he knew that the people there weren't going to have guns. I tell you what, let some punk like this show up to one of our 2A rallies in Lansing. See how far he gets it. He wouldn't even make it across the street. We'd turn him to Swiss cheese.
It's I guess young kids might grab an AK and it feels powerful and they might feel invincible, but they're not. I mean, having an AK doesn't make you invincible by any stretch of the imaginations.
The whole point is, though, when you go to a Second Amendment rally and people are armed, or you go to a gun range and people are armed, or you go into a gun store and people are armed, or you go inside of a police department and people are armed. Those are not the places these guys are shooting up. They're shooting up places where no one is armed, or there's a handful of security or law enforcement, and they don't go into a place where there's a potential for every person there to have a gun. Yeah, they never attack those places.
Yeah, there is a certain logic to just where these shootings occur, and there's a reason, or there's rhyme and reason to where these things happen, but there's no reason for why these things happen.
Right, but what I'm saying is you're going to stop. No, I wouldn't say stop. You're going to curtail a majority of these, and the ones that do happen aren't even going to make it 60 seconds. If you just give the people the right to carry anywhere, anytime, period. No more gun-free zones. No more people getting denied their concealed carry permit. No more needing a permit to open carry. You can have a gun with you anywhere at any time, period. No training, no nothing. Just don't be a felon and don't be under the age of 18. That's it. And be a citizen. Be a citizen, I guess. We don't want to have these illegals, and that's it. You make it that simple, and now the choice is yours. It's mine. It's our neighbors. It's whoever's that they either bring it or they don't bring it, and nobody can tell them no. Now, all of a sudden, these dirtbags would be going, I'm going out in a blaze of glory. Everybody's going to remember my name. Yeah, they're going to remember you're the guy that got turned to Swiss cheese in about 5 seconds because 60 Pro 2A guys gunned you down before you could get one round off. That's what they're going to remember. You went out like a punk-ass bitch. You didn't go out like, you were powerful and superior to everybody. I'm telling you what, it would change this. It would, there would be so many less instances of this, and the ones that happened, it would just be, it would want to deter even. They'd be like, dang, that guy didn't even make it in the building. I better rethink this. That's not to say that they might not try to blow up the building, burn down the building. They might not try to drive a vehicle or fly a vehicle into the crowd or something like that. I'm not saying there aren't other ways that one of these scumbags would try to, but they won't be out there doing it with a gun.
Well, I swear, it's just so that's why I like watching Shark Week. It's so much more fun than listening to politicians make statements or basically they throw on they have like a one person live from the scene and like one anchor trying to talk about it and just kill dead air. And it's like, I'd rather watch Shark Week myself than even think about this stuff because it gives me a headache. And who likes to see it's not fun coverage to watch. So I mean, boy, I like watching Shark Week. That's interesting, but and it's they're different kinds of predators, and they have there's a rhyme and reason to everything that they do. Um, and so, like when that 20-foot great white showed up at the big blue showed up at the whale carcass 8 miles off Oahu. I mean, it was really interesting because to me because when this girl shows up on her boat, she sees the whale carcass and there's just a bunch of tiger sharks eating the whale carcass. So she goes in with her video gear so she can get some video of the tiger sharks eating a whale carcass. And she doesn't mind swimming with the sharks, and the sharks are busy eating the whale carcass. They're not paying any attention to it. Some scuba diver with a camera, and because there's food there and they're eating it, and then all of a sudden the tiger sharks disappear because they can sense the electric fields of other creatures, and the tiger sharks just disappeared. And for 5 minutes it was really quiet around the whale carcass until Deep Blue showed up, who was this known, I mean, they identified her from the pictures that she took, but the 20-foot great white and the tiger shark could sense her coming before anybody could see her or the cameras could see her or anything, or 5 minutes before she even got there. And the great white wasn't interested in the diver either. There was a whale carcass that's food for a known food source for sharks. So, but that particular shark had been seen originally off Guadalupe Island, off Mexico, and so that shark swam all the way from Mexico to Hawaii. And so it gives you some idea of the range of these sharks, but they basically spend their time like 3,000 feet below sea level, going after tuna or stuff like that, and only came to the surface because of the whale carcass. But the shark was pretty intelligent and wasn't interested. It was just, I mean, she was like literally swimming like 5 feet away from the mouth of this great white. And the great white was just, I mean, it kind of looked at her, but it wasn't at all interested, didn't consider her like a food or prey item or anything, because it had plenty of food sitting right there in front of it. And it's just, so it was an interesting look at sharks, but I mean, once they decide to eat, once they decide something's a prey item, they have a pretty big bite. Oh, Oklahoma's calling me. 1 second, guys. Oops, you just mopping up a fire. Okay, Oklahoma's, I guess, well, he's the fire chief. I was interested if he got his LEO position, but let's see. Mopping up a fire, probably not going to make it tonight. Okay, so he's putting out a fire in Oklahoma. Well, he's going to have to tune in, let's see the rerun for the insect swarm. Text him that he missed a video of a swarm, really, of a grasshopper swarm. Really quick. You missed video of grasshopper swarm on Vegas Strip. So yeah, it's like a lot of the panelists try and keep in touch on text. All right. What do you think of that California judge? I guess it's a federal court of some kind that ruled that the semi-automatic rifles aren't protected by the Second Amendment. I mean, isn't that just crazy?
If you read their reasoning, they are ignorant of how firearms work. They're ignorant of a lot of things regarding firearms history, just it's just another person talking sideways out their ass. And it's like, look, if you're the one who legislates this, you're the one who makes rulings, that does things to control our lives, the least you can do is some research. Or if you don't feel like doing research, then get a panel of
Yeah, they just pull their
experts.
facts. They pull their reasoning from the Brady Every Town Matters briefs, and they don't really fact check the briefs or anything. They just take it as gospel and make a ruling based on the briefs. So that's the politics of it. So well, eventually it'll hopefully get overturned. I don't think anybody's going to run down and turn in their semi-automatic rifles, but you have that ruling, and then the next day there's a shooting, and it's just like depressing. That's why I prefer to watch Shark Week. Hammerheads, whatever. Anything's better than watching another shooting. Coverage of another shooting, I should say. Because we've all seen the coverage of shootings before, and it's like, of course, then again, I did watch Predator for like the 88th time or something like that, or 99th time. So I guess for some reason, that's a fun kind of a make-believe shooting. But maybe it's because it's in the jungle or something. I don't know. There's no law against invading aliens from outer space, I guess. Something like that. Although they did blow away a lot of plants. So that might upset vegetarians. Let's see. Oh, I was shopping the other day and I actually saw something in the freezer section. I saw one of the package of Beyond Meats, some kind of meat, Beyond fake meat in the freezer section. I didn't buy it. I just saw it there. Like, oh my God, that stuff has actually made it into the freezer section in a store. And they think that company stock took a big tumble today because they issued a bunch of like 3.5 million shares to raise money to make more fake meat or faster or something like that. And they didn't have very good, they're not making a profit yet. So yes, you are hearing Ice Cubes and Tullamore Dew, Irish whiskey. Dew stands for D.E. Williams Distillery, product of Ireland. So I might get a couple more Ice Cubes in a minute. So since Oklahoma's not going to make it, I haven't been. I mean, other than just monitoring the hurricane, I haven't been doing too much. Other than because it's like, since I'm already prepped, I just kept my countertop water distiller going, filling up some receptacles and just cleaning up the condo a little bit. There's nothing I need to go out and buy, except I ran out of Parmesan cheese for my, I made a egg beaters omelet this morning. So I might go pick up extra bottle of Parmesan cheese. That's about it. Everything else is all squared away for a hurricane. I mean, I'm not going to board up the windows. My lanai is safety glass. So, I mean, I have some Gorilla tape if I have to tape it, but I'm not going to, unless the wind gets incredibly ridiculous and there's a direct hit, I'm not going to do that, because it'll be a bitch to get that sticky mess off of the glass if I have to tape it. Of course, that'll be better than having the whole thing. Like a coconut going at 100 miles an hour can definitely screw up even thick safety glass, but make a hurricane can really make a mess of a town. So hopefully it misses us. The whole thing with this hurricane is it's it's not going for, it's not usually, when they're headed straight for Mauna Loa or Kilauea, the weather patterns around the mountain usually tend to break it up. But this one, it's kind of like Iniki. It's going slightly south, tracking just south, like like it's going to be just off the coast of Kona. And if it turns right at the last moment, then it'll clobber the place. But if it doesn't, then it shouldn't be too bad. Probably a lot of rain and some wind, but unless the eye just goes straight into Kona. It's basically, that's what happened, I think, in Iniki, is except on Oahu, is that it was like going south and away from the island, and then it just turned straight for the island at the last moment because of some high pressure area that turned to the direction of the storm. So it's interesting. You just tune into the Weather Channel and see what's happening. Yeah, well, that's what these shows are. You know, you pour a drink and just talk about what you're working on and stuff, and not current events. I don't always have like a really incredibly interesting topic. Let's see. I think I made a post on one of Canadian Prepper's things, and where he was saying about how the weather is the whole thing with global warming, and I don't know. I thought we were globe cooling instead of warming, but and I think I left a comment saying, didn't Al Gore say we would all be extinct or underwater or something by now? And it just basically what then he basically said the Al Gore thing was a moot argument or a moot point at this point, and I just replied that be careful what you're afraid of. Don't be careful what drives your fear. There's just stuff that I'm not afraid of. I mean, there's stuff out there that can hurt you, but global climate change, it really isn't one of them. I mean, it can affect you, but like if the ocean goes up 100 feet, I'll have closer to oceanfront property because I'm one block back from the ocean. But I really don't think it's going to happen. I'm just not. It's just like what they want to do is find an excuse to raise taxes, which is theft. Taxation is theft, and print more money, which is also theft, because it devalues everybody else's money that already has money. So they print just a bunch of money, and that's stealing too. And that's what politicians do. They either tax money to steal it, or they print money, which is stealing money. And everybody's stealing money. The bankers are stealing money. The government's stealing money by printing it or taxing it. And using climate change as an excuse to steal money is basically what it is. I mean, but anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. Oh, hey, Corsair trainers. So this will be I think Google Hangouts goes away on August 1st. I thought last week it might go. I didn't check my calendar exactly, but so we got one more in before it goes away. I'm gonna try StreamYard. I do need to buy a camera, because ever since like the last 4 months, my laptop camera has not been recognized by Windows. But I do think I'm going to be able to use my good microphone when I start using StreamYard. I don't know if we're going to have. I think I was watching Gizzard Gary, and I think last morning, and somehow the external chat did work kind of, and he was using StreamYard. So I'm gonna have to. That'll be interesting if we can make that work. I do need to get a video camera, otherwise I'll just be a blank avatar instead of this wonderful Punisher avatar that I have right now. But basically, my camera hasn't worked since like Microsoft Windows did an update like 5 or 6 months ago that stopped recognizing cameras that haven't been specifically approved by Microsoft Windows support team. So they get like a little extra money for every camera that can use that Windows recognizes. So it's all about corporate profit. But which means in order to get a camera work, I have to go figure out which new podcasting camera to buy because the laptop one just doesn't work with Windows anymore. It used to, but Windows sucks. Hashtag Windows sucks. Followed by hashtag Google sucks. Followed by hashtag Facebook sucks. I'm getting ready to just delete I haven't even logged on to Facebook in like a decade. So I think I just need to I need to like type I need to go on YouTube and type how to delete your Facebook account. I know they took out an ad at one point in the New York Times saying exactly how to delete your Facebook account, but they haven't logged on in 10 years. I still get emails from them, and it's like I just delete them. I also deleted I also put in the spam folder all the Facebook text because I used to get random text off of Facebook for some reason. So ever since I put it into the spam folder, which I didn't even know I could do with text, then I haven't gotten any. I used to get them like 10 a day or something. So how's the weather in Newbury Park, Corsair? Well, Squib found his whiskey yet. Doesn't get back with his whiskey soon. You better hurry because I need to get a couple more ice cubes for this. I'm glad you can hear my whiskey sloshing around with the ice cubes in my glass. Yeah, that's some strong stuff. I do like bourbon too. Irish whiskey. It's its own character. I have not cracked open a bottle of. I have some Jamesons that I have not cracked a bottle open of yet. What's that there? That's the Old Granddad bonded.
Old Granddad.
Straight bourbon whiskey, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
This show drives me to drink.
It's not that bad. All right. Well, you need to take over so I can run off and get like a couple more ice cubes real quick. So talk about whiskey or something for like a minute.
Whiskey is good stuff. So here, let me put some of this purified drinking water that Travis P11 has got me making my coffee with. Even though I don't know what's wrong with distilled water, but I mean, it tastes a little bit better, but
turn on
as
your
long as
camera,
water's
dude.
clean.
I'm gonna go get my ice.
Not turn on my camera. Then my hands won't be free. So I'll take some of this Old Granddad's here, if I can uncork it. There we go. Heard that? And we'll put some of this purified drinking water in it. I always mix my whiskey with water. And there we go. And now I can have some whiskey, and I can set the coffee for the morning so that my wife has coffee when she wakes up. And maybe tomorrow I'll do a coffee review video, or later in the week I'll shoot it, but I won't
I have
publish
found
it.
that with get my earbuds back in here. I have found that with gin, a good gin, having it on ice, you can brings out the infusion of the herbal infusion. I mean, with gin, it's usually juniper berries and possibly one or two other things. Hendrick's gin It's like rose petals and cucumbers or something, but that's good stuff. But when you have it on the rock, with whiskey, not so much. With gin, yeah, because there's infused herbs in that, and there's none of that really in whiskey. You might bring out some of the cask flavors if you have something that's been aged in a cask. You have it on the rocks.
I'll get a couple ice cubes out of the ice maker and put it in my whiskey just for you, man. I don't know. I don't normally have my whiskey chilled. I'm not saying I don't have some drinks chilled. I don't chill my wine anymore unless it's a really fruity wine and it's already been opened. Like leftover wine will go in the freezer, but if I'm cracking open a new bottle of wine to have with dinner, it'll be room temperature.
Right. Well, I'm talking about like because gin is infused with herbs is why you can bring and with the cask, if you have it on the rocks with like aged whiskey in a that's aged in a cask of charred cask, then it might bring out some of those hues or whatever you want to call them, that flavor of the cask more a little more, separating it from just the blast you get from the alcohol content. And of course, like that's the thing, when you first pour it right on, like in a cold glass with cold ice cubes, like before any of the ice dissolves, it's like, drinking right out of the bottle almost, except slightly cold because none of the water has dissolved at all. But as it dissolves, you start to be able, it kind of separates the alcoholic kick from the either herb infusion in the instance of gin, or the tones from the charred cask in the case of whiskey or bourbon. And I think American bourbon actually kind of has some nice advantages over whiskey in that regard. But it depends. It's a matter of opinion and personal taste.
I drink different whiskeys. Most of them I just have room temperature. This isn't too bad with some ice in it. I mean, I'm not saying ice is a bad thing at all. Everybody's got a preference. I know there's some people that will not put water in their whiskey. I do, and that's just my thing. So.
Well, some people hate ice, apparently.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let me see if I can make my way back to the external. Okay, Corsair is going to put his kids to bed. DDT, I don't know. That was like in the 60s. It wasn't DDT. They banned that in the 60s or something, and they stopped using it or something.
60s or 70s, and it might still be used overseas, but I mean, that's what we use to clear the Panama Canal zone so that we stop having mosquitoes give people malaria. I just say, you know what, you get a swarm of bugs like that, you just you keep it in, like tucked away in some secure location, and then you just have the Department of whatever come out and spray them bastards.
Yeah, it is amazing how much, I mean, if you watch any of those survival shows, how much annoying insects can be, not to mention the diseases that they carry, but it's just, people can't sleep, they drive them crazy. It's just, people like tap out just because of bugs sometimes out of those survival shows. Okay, the episode of Alone, I wanted to talk about that one, the last episode of Alone, because basically, what was interesting about that is the whole man versus Wolverine, man versus a hatchet versus a Wolverine. So basically, the guy who killed a moose or whatever, I think it was, with an arrow had a bunch of meat, and but he had taken the liver, the fat from the liver, and scraped that off and put it in a cup, and he put it in a place where he thought it was high up and animals couldn't get to it, but apparently this Wolverine found a way to get to it and fat from a liver has a pretty high calorie content, so he was upset that he lost all of the liver fat, like a whole big cup jar of it practically, and the Wolverine got it. So the Wolverine was basically stalking his camp, and so he set up some like just alarm traps, and with just tin cans and cordage, and so he would know it when the Wolverine came around his camp. And so he heard the cans go off, so he runs outside, and I don't know if he used a bow and arrow or somehow he pinned down the Wolverine, and then behind the bushes, and then you see him jump out of the bushes, I think, to get his hatchet, and he says that I pinned that Wolverine down. I pinned the Wolverine down. I got to kill it so he doesn't steal my meat and from the moose that he killed. So because Wolverine has been stalking his camp and trying to steal the moose meat and stuff that he from the moose he killed. So he grabs a hatchet that was in a log in front of the camera, and the contestant jumps back into the bushes, and you hear the Wolverine just snarl. It's like Wolverine snarl, and then they cut to a commercial, which was you have to watch all the commercials to wait to see what happens when he comes back. And so basically he uses the hatchet to kill the Wolverine. And a Wolverine, though, I mean, it looked like a pretty vicious animal. I mean, they have a reputation, but they have like these huge claws. They have like each paw has like 5 huge deadly claws, and the teeth on its mouth, it looked pretty intimidating. But they're really they're only like 16 inches off the ground. But so to kill one with a hatchet, you have to. He just had to be very determined and upset that the thing had taken his stash of moose liver fat, I guess. But it's one of those things that I mean, I like watching those survival shows to pick up little tips, but sometimes they're just fun to watch. And I think that one kind of came under the category of fun to watch more than learn anything. Let's see. I think last week I mentioned that the ants won't go over ashes, so which I picked up from a Naked and Afraid episode, because the feet of the ants, they don't really have feet, but the bottom of their legs have mucous membranes that are used to transmit pheromones, which is how they communicate. So ants will never cross ash. So if you surround your camp with a little mound of ashes, they just won't go over it. I guess the trick would be producing enough ash to surround your camp, and then hopefully figuring a way for it not to either blow away from the wind or get washed away by rain. Because most people don't usually have like some kind of jar of Terminix spray or whatever they use to around the camp, spray around their camp, keep the bugs out. Yeah, bugs are just an annoying. Something you have to deal with. When the shit hits the fan or you bug out, you have to deal with bugs. So, I mean, I have a mosquito net, pretty big one, but I mean, it just really. I think I was talking to somebody who's moving to work on a construction project in Panama, and I just told him, like, buy like all the off they have at like Walmart. Just go there and buy all the off they have. just you're not gonna like want to get there and then have to order it off the internet and wait for it. You're gonna want like slather yourself with that stuff. Of course, they don't have that problem in Newbury Park too much. where of course their trainers live. That's where my folks live too. So I haven't been to Newbury Park in a while. Let's see. Make it back to the live stream here. So, what have you been working on, Squib, besides just work? It sounds like you've been busy just working and dealing with your car. That is.
Yeah, I've had some issues with the truck, and I've been doing a lot of stuff to the house. And this past weekend, I kind of just took it easy and just most stuff I did was to the garden. Um, Hopefully, this coming weekend, I can take it a little bit easy, and then. But I will get back to home improvement, just not as such a feverish pace, and just try to cruise through the rest of the summer and into the fall with home improvement in the garden.
See, how are things going? I saw your last garden video, and I think I haven't seen your last coffee video yet, though. I know I saw something posted, but I hadn't gotten around to looking at it yet. How's things going with your garden?
Yeah, I transplanted a few things. Some things get crowded, or I had a few things in pots that seemed like they needed to be in a bigger pot. They were getting bigger. They were starting to wilt. So I transplanted a few things, and some things took, and some things didn't. But that's kind of why you plant more than one kind of, of each kind of thing if you can. I keep going to the store and buying more vegetable hoops. I was actually at Walmart tonight. I picked up another vegetable hoop. I've had a few tomato plants grow where I didn't plant seeds. It's left over from last year or something, and it just came up. So might as well help those tomatoes grow and make fruit. Um,
It looks like really lush, your garden. I mean, from what I saw, it's just like lots of stuff
yeah,
popping up and growing.
yeah, and it's kind of crowded. But I've noticed though this year I really crowded stuff, and it grew better. It actually grew better being crowded together. So I don't know if I'm gonna. I've seen that on an episode of Doomsday Preppers. They were growing the garden around the perimeter of the property, and they were growing all kinds of different things, especially things like raspberries and blackberries that had thorns. But they weren't putting them in rows. They were just sticking them all over the place, so you wouldn't distinguish vegetables from weeds per se because they weren't organized. And mine are inside of boarded off uh, sections, but I threw stuff in between. If there was a gap, like if I planted four plants and only two took, and there's a gap, I just transplanted something else that was kind of crowded in that bare spot. So I might have pepper, tomato, onion in that order, not necessarily on purpose. And some things from last year, just like those tomatoes, but also green onion and red and yellow onion, just kind of came up from last year. I didn't have to do anything. The raspberries have to get cut back because different stems seem to die, and I got to cut them back. But they seem to spread out. I transplanted 3 raspberry plants onto the hill to make room in the garden to kind of, give it a little bit more room for other stuff, and also kind of just to do something with the hill. I don't know that it's going to keep deer from coming up. If there's too many raspberries, will they go through it? If it's thorny, probably. Deer, just nothing seems to stop them. But my biggest raspberry bush it's gotten so big that I'm really thinking that I need to rip it out and transplant it onto the hill so it doesn't overcrowd the garden next year. I'm already thinking about next year.
Well,
I mean,
it's just cool that you can have a garden where you live because I can't. So
I
I'm
pulled
jealous.
lettuce today. I pulled lettuce today from the garden and washed it and put it on my sandwiches.
Awesome.
The tomatoes are still green, so we can't. We want to make our own salsa, but we got to wait for the tomatoes. And some of the peppers need to turn colors. The purple peppers have kind of gotten bigger, so they might be ready. So, I mean, we could pull little stuff here or there. I mean, if I wanted to cut up green onion tomorrow and put it in my omelet, I could. But it's still not where. If I started some of the plants in the house, and I put grow lights on them or something like that, I might be able to get the garden started a little bit earlier, but it's just not practical in this house. I wouldn't mind having a small greenhouse out there, and then I could start them out in the greenhouse, but I don't think that's going to happen either.
Well, I've been waiting for Dusty to send me a picture of his pool already, but I know he's been saying he's going to build a greenhouse too, and so I'm definitely interested in seeing how that comes out. There's a couple YouTube channels that specialize in greenhouses, like I think Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener and stuff. Oh, did you see Mouse Toes like jambalaya video?
I saw that she had posted it, but I haven't watched that one yet.
It looks like something that almost anybody could make. I mean, it takes a bit of work, but it doesn't look complicated at all.
Well, some videos you can listen to and maybe just roll it back and look at a few key scenes if you need to visualize it. And other ones you really want to watch the whole way through, and that one's one you want to watch the whole way through. And I do a lot more listening to videos than watching them. It's just the nature of how many different things I have to watch and what my schedule's like at home and at work. So that one I want to give it my full attention. So that's why I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, well, you ought to watch everybody ought to watch all of Mouse Toes videos, unless you plan on like going to South Carolina and kidnapping her to be, force her to be your chef or something. Shit hits the fan, chef. So you can just watch her videos and learn how to do it. That one looked doable. It almost looked like something I could make. I mean, but I don't know. I was like, I'd just pay her to freeze dry her jambalaya and mail it to me. That's another. I saw another video that was interesting today. That brought up a point about like freeze dried stuff in number 10 cans, and just generally stuff in number 10 cans. There's just some stuff that some kinds of food, especially oily stuff, that isn't geared for long-term storage, but a lot of food companies put it in anyway. And like one example that slightly concerned me was brown sugar, because brown sugar has oil in it, like vegetable oil or stuff in it, and that goes rancid over time. So, and I do have a number 10 can of brown sugar. I mean, I usually just buy the packets of C&H brown sugar that I use it in my oatmeal. So I thought, oh, I'll just get a number 10 can and stick it, and just forget about it and stick it in the cupboard and forget about it until shit hits the fan. But I don't think it'll last that long after it, just because some things are just oily food. The oil is not geared to long-term food storage. So, basically there's one guy that was pitching his particular brand of stuff, but he was basically saying that a lot of companies just like when they put oatmeal and brown sugar together and stick it in a number 10 can and call it oatmeal with brown sugar, I mean, it'll go bad over time and it won't last. So I mean, just my plain steel cut oats have only like a 1 or 2 year shelf life. So, but it's really the brown sugar that really concerns me. I've never bought a mixture of the stuff. I always make the oats separately and then add brown sugar. But I just realized I really can't store it for that long because it won't last. So even in a number 10 can that's vacuum sealed and stuff. So I'm just gonna have to use it, and when I run out because of the oil involved. I can use honey instead. Honey will last forever. So I did pick up like containers of honey on my last shopping trip, but I'm definitely gonna like not set back. I'm not just gonna long-term store brown sugar because it just won't. The oil in it just will make it go bad, and you don't want to like have rancid food. If this shit hits the fan, start eating bad food and you get sick. So anyway, that was another interesting prepper thing that kind of came up, and like the videos that I was watching today over the last week. Let's see what else is out there. Let me go back and check the external really quick. Dawn kills nearly every insect known to man.
I think he's saying to spray Dawn mixed with water on your yard.
I wouldn't do that.
I've had people advise me to spray Dawn on the plants to repel bugs. And I have used insecticide soap, biodegradable, organic, blah, 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 comes in a spray bottle, insecticide soap with mixed results with that. My thing is, if it's soap, it's water soluble. So I spray it on the plants or the yard or both or neither or whatever, and then I get a rainstorm. And then I have to go back out there and do it again. Some of the repellents that I've used before, whether they're liquid or pellet form, say that they're okay to use, or they don't dissolve just because of the rain. That, it takes a lot of rain, something like, weeks or months of rain to dissolve them, to rinse them away. One of them actually says, if it hasn't rained lately, spray the garden down and then apply this so it sticks to the ground better.
Okay, now am I right or wrong in assuming that sodium lauryl sulfate is used to like clean out like boats and ships and stuff like that, and it's not like something you'd want to have around where your food is. I mean,
yeah, but that's not soap.
That's what's in Dawn, sodium lauryl sulfate.
Oh, well, I can tell you this. If you eat off of a plate or bowl or something you haven't rinsed all the soap off of it, the worst you're going to get is diarrhea. It's not going to kill you.
Well, yeah, we're talking long-term exposure, though, not just like one dish that wasn't rinsed off properly.
I've been using Dawn dish soap to wash dishes since I was a teenager, or in my hands. In some cases, it's really good for taking the oil off your hands. It hasn't killed me yet.
I know, but that's an antidote without meaning, really. It hasn't killed you yet. I mean, but yeah, it takes oil off your hands because it's used as a degreaser on like engine parts and boat hulls and stuff like that. I mean, I just wouldn't use it in a garden myself. Okay,
I think he's implying that you spray this on your lawn. It's going to kill insect larvae, insect eggs, whatever. And after you do that, they won't come back for 5 years. Okay.
Okay, for one spraying, I might get into that. Get rid of insects.
I don't have a problem spraying the lawn if it's going to kill them to the point where they don't come back. But what's going to keep them from coming over from the neighbor's yard? Or I don't know.
I mean, that's where Oklahoma's grasshoppers came from, the neighbor's yard. I mean, what else is it going to kill? I mean, you need your worms in the lawn, right? So you don't want to kill them.
Next time I get a haircut, I got to stop by the bait shop and get some more worms. It's too late in the year to try to plant anything else, but I can start working on the expansions for next year, and it'll make it easier next year. Next year, what I'd like to do is enjoy my summer doing some shooting instead of doing vehicle repair and home improvement. The garden's always going to be there, but I think one year I kind of skipped out on the garden, and it was just a really busy year. Yeah, it was a really busy year at work, and I did very little. The garden was a lot smaller back then too, but
well, it looks great from what I saw. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm already. Today I was there. I was moving some of the leaves and stems for the peppers. Moving them up into the different levels in the hoops to so they didn't you want to kind of get them to grow up and out. And I was looking at them going, I could grow twice as many peppers as this. Next year, I should grow more peppers. So I'm never going to be satisfied with it.
What? Well, get yourself a bigger place, more garden space. Building a greenhouse should keep out a lot of the bugs, I would think.
The greenhouse would really be for our spring, which is really just winter. I mean, it's bad when April is freezing cold and snow, and everybody else is growing pumpkin or growing watermelon and tomatoes, and yeah. So you really can't plant anything around here. I mean, Dusty can because he does it on an industrial scale, but you really can't plant a whole lot here, the seed wise, until you start really having consistently warm days. And if it doesn't rain, you got to water the crap out of them. If it was up to me, I would plant seeds in March, and by May, I might have some stuff coming up that I could eat, but it's just way too cold here. So the greenhouse would be for that period. I wouldn't expect the greenhouse to hold temperature in the middle of January when it's negative 20 out. But when it's 40 degrees during the day and 20 degrees at night, I would hope the greenhouse might have some ability to hold heat.
Well, that cold weather will solve your bug problem because they'll just go away in negative 20 degrees.
Our winter here is so, and granted there are places with much severe winter, but our winter here is so long and so, I don't even want to call it severe, just so long that it kills the bugs. We get plenty of bugs here in Michigan, but I used to live down south. We don't get crap compared to down there. But the growing season is so short here. The land is great for growing, but the soil's good for growing, and we got tons of water. And there's a lot of agriculture here. Having a garden is really not a hard thing to do here. I mean, you do get blight, and you do get parasitic insects, and you do have critters. I mean, I got chipmunks, rabbits, squirrels, a woodchuck, skunk, and deer that get into the yard and do stuff. So there's no perfect place to do it, but a infestation of bugs here, probably not. And if we did, it wouldn't be back next year. It'd just be nice if the growing season was longer, but I know that if it was, we would probably have some of the problems the other states have.
Well, in Hawaii, I think it's just that if you go up to a high enough elevation, it'll be cold enough so the insects won't follow you up. But just a question of money and getting a piece of land up there.
HRM is talking about Roundup. Dude, I'm pro Roundup, so I'm not saying I'm anti, biodegradable or organic solutions or old remedies. I'm not against that. But no, Roundup don't bother me. Here's the thing.
I'm not going to touch that whole topic.
If you don't do farming on an industrial scale, you will not have food on an industrial scale. Even though organic foods are a lot more common at the store and their prices have come way down, and there's nothing wrong. Some of the things I buy are organic. Sometimes I don't go out of my way, but whatever. It's just if we tried to do stuff as far as growing food without modern pesticides, without modern technology, we'd starve. We would starve.
Yeah, we have an economy of scale. It's called an economy of scale.
So I don't mind that stuff because when I go down to the grocery store and groceries are plentiful and cheap, and I'm not dropping dead from the pasta I eat or the canned green beans or whatever it is. I mean, if you kill your customers, who's going to be there to buy the groceries? I mean, I know maybe I'm putting a little bit too much faith in the USDA and stuff like that. But overall, and don't get me wrong, I know what it does. Roundup kills all the earthworms in the soil in a farm, okay? It does. And it'd be better if you had stuff like that. But farmers, they get economic incentives to do things on an industrial scale, and that's what they do. And also, if they want to
high crop yields with their
because without it, they will not make their, they won't be able to pay their bills. So even though it would be better to till and have earthworms and really good topsoil and all this other stuff, as long as it's making food, I'm okay with it. For my garden, it's a little bit different. For my garden, I can do whatever I want to do, whether I want to compost and I want to use all organic crap, or if I want to put commercial, pesticides in there, whatever. I mean, I've got fertilizer. I use 10-10-10 or 12-12-12 fertilizer sometimes, and I use lime sometimes.
Yeah, you're not producing like for an economy of scale. You're just growing stuff for yourself and family for fun.
Your average house, even if somebody had a bigger yard than me, it's going to be really hard to produce enough to feed your whole family. I mean, at best, out where I'm at, you could have poultry.
Well, if the deer come along and to eat your food, then you could shoot the deer, and then
I can't. That would if there was a way that I could legally and safely kill the deer, absolutely. I mean, I'd put a bear trap back there. I don't care. I don't, find that thing there trapped in there.
Suspended deadfall.
Think about it. If I had a bear trap out there and that stupid thing stepped in it and it grabbed it and it didn't rip its leg off trying to get away. If it didn't bleed out overnight, I'd just get up in the morning and put one to the base of the skull, and we got venison. I don't care. I mean, that would probably be the best way I could do it, where I could put the animal down quick, but not risk hitting the neighbor's house or hitting a car on the highway. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that. All the squirrel in the neighborhood, I'd cook those things up. They're fat. But you can't do it in a township like this. You can't do that sort of thing.
You can't even trap them. You can't trap the squirrels.
No, I could live trap like skunks and groundhogs and stuff, but I suppose you could try to trap a squirrel, but then what? But the whole thing is, if I lived someplace more rural and I could shoot them in the backyard as a nuisance or hunt, then yeah, that would and your average schmuck too. Even if they've got a big yard, which not everybody has a big yard. I have a small yard, they're not going to go to the trouble. Not everybody enjoys gardening. And I mean, believe me, I would love to have some poultry back there. There used to be a chicken coop where the garden is before we moved in. I would have chicken and ducks and pheasants and, maybe one day. I mean, it wouldn't be too bad, but,
well,
it's just not for everybody.
The chicken poop is good for your garden, but
yeah, my father-in-law he buys bags of that stuff and puts it in his garden. This stuff stinks, so ugh.
Well, basically, like I was saying, Dusty's farm is basically a big pile of shit. I mean, literally. So, I mean, that's fertilizer that's what all farmers talk about. I think that was a line from that Magnificent Seven, where the old guy they're trying to get the old guy to move off of his like little house into the village so they could protect it. Why would they shoot me? Bullets cost money, and all the farmers ever talk about is fertilizer. And I just couldn't take it.
If SHTF happens, I wouldn't hesitate to kill the critters in the neighborhood for food. But we don't plan to stay here. And at that point, on Dusty's farm, we could do more of an organic garden to feed everybody, because it probably wouldn't be something where we'd be able to plant all the fields. I mean, depending.
It's too many acres. It's too many acres for if there's like not enough fuel and stuff like that.
Right. If an EMP hit and everything got fried, we couldn't even start the tractor, right? And then, at a certain point, we're going to run out of fuel, we're going to run out of this. But we could do a really large garden with a lot of stuff, enough that we could feed everybody, especially by canning stuff. But we could also barter and trade if we had to. And then it would go back to more of an organic kind of thing. And as much as I would be able to provide security and help fix things around there, I would also enjoy working in the garden, getting my hands dirty, and doing what I had to do there. Plus, another thing too is if we did get any livestock, let's say we bartered and traded for livestock that he didn't have, that garden might be a source of food for the livestock. We might plant by hand um, stuff that we'd have to grow to keep the livestock alive through the winter, like alfalfa or.
Well, I mean, seeds are going to be at a premium if they aren't going to be easy to find after if the grid goes
The
down.
thing is, he's got a lot of that available.
I don't know, but how are they heirloom? I mean, how long how many seasons will that stuff last? I mean,
I've bought seeds for $1.50 at Walmart, and 5 years later, they've still made plants.
I know, but he buys different kinds of seeds. So the stuff he has isn't the same stuff you buy at Walmart.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying that he's a resourceful kind of guy. He doesn't have just soybeans there and nothing else. But the whole point being is, one way or the other, we would be able to build up a really good garden. It would have to be, if there was absolutely no power and nothing was coming back anytime soon, it would have to be organic. But it might even be something that we would have to use to help feed animals. So there'd be a lot of manual labor out there, and don't get me wrong, out there with a hoe and a rifle slung over your back in the heat is not exactly a fun thing all day long, and you're filthy and all this. And meanwhile, every time you stand up from doing something, you got to look around to make sure everything's good, and then you get back to working the ground. I mean, it's not an easy life, but it sure beats starving to death.
Yeah, well, obviously, starving sucks. I mean, you start losing your energy, your body starts eating itself, and it's I mean, it's not pleasant. So yeah, I mean, it's so great that you guys can do that. Basically, I do have some files I want to send you from I have a folder of prepping files, but I do think that at some point you and Dusty ought to get together and just make yourself a prepping database, so you can actually know what you have and see what your weaknesses are. I mean, and don't share them with anybody, but just for yourself, so you could just evaluate it yourselves. See what you're short on or what you got in abundance, and make any adjustments you need to before before Skynet takes over or whatever, before Judgment Day. There's just so much stuff happening in the world, but I swear I do not fear the future. There's nothing to fear, especially if you just I mean, I just do prepping as a hobby and for fun, but I do take it seriously. It doesn't mean I don't take it seriously. And I like the mental exercise of going through it. And just because, when you get bored with, let's say you get bored with one particular aspect of prepping, like let's say you make soap out of plants, use the saponins, and then you just get bored with it. Well, there's always something else you can find to do. Maybe you do canning and you just get bored with canning. And so there's always something else or you just only reload and you have so much ammo that you have like 10 warehouses full of ammo and you're just bored of reloading. So you want to do something else. Well, there's so many different aspects of prepping that you're never going to get bored, and you can keep your mind going 24/7 if you want. I don't like having to be on 24/7. That's why I don't run a business anymore, because I always have to be quick, on top of everything, 24/7, 365. And I just can't live like that anymore. But occasionally keeping your mind going is a good thing. And so I really that's what I like about it, is just thinking about it, thinking about different aspects of prepping. And so I don't just work on one thing. So I'm a multifaceted person, but it's like, and so that's reflected in how I prep. But it's like I don't get bored with it because I don't get burned out just doing one thing. I don't just do ammo runs. And I don't just go to the range and shoot target. And I don't just purify water or work on my water preps, or I just don't work on my bug out bag, or just sharpen my knives all the time. I mean, that in it alone would be a never. It would be a lot. Just keeping my knives sharp and clean is like, I have so many. It would be like a lifetime job. Just, I don't care if some of them get a little rusty at this point, because the ones that I use, my EDCs are good to go and always. But I mean, all my knives, that's just too much stuff to do. So I have fun with it, and I think it should be fun. I think life should be fun in general, and you should enjoy it. So it's like, if shit goes bad, just remember you're lucky to be alive and enjoy it. And so have fun with your prepping, because there's no reason not to. You don't have to be afraid at all of anything. It really doesn't help, and it doesn't drive. I mean, it might drive views on a YouTube channel, but it doesn't drive. That's not what it doesn't drive good decision making. Fear doesn't drive good decision making, in my opinion. It's quite the opposite. Make mistakes. My opinion, you're more likely to make a mistake if you base all your judgments on fear of one thing or another. I mean, if you have to do something, I mean, unpleasant, if the shit hits the fan, I think you would want to just be cool, calm, and collected, and just do whatever has to be done, and not get emotional about it or be driven by fear. And so I think that was one thing that I was trying to get across to Canadian Prepper, but I don't know if I did or not. He just saw Al Gore and a comment about Al Gore's, the world we will be extinct in 2 years, which never came to pass, or something, or whatever he said. Al Gore said, it's just, there's a lot of fear stuff on that, because people click on it, and that makes people money and drives views. So, and then they can sell stuff to you. And I don't mind if it's stuff people need, or will be useful to them. But when you make decision-making processes, decisions on important things, I think it's important not to be driven by fear or influenced and to any really large extent. I mean, because in reality, if there's a nuclear war or the economy crashes, that's really completely out of your control. And so if you just work on the things that are in your control and base your decisions on just your everyday to day life with a little forethought, and you don't always have to do the same thing, it can be fun. And it can be driven out of like, what's fun? What kind of prep am I going to do today that's going to be, what is the most fun prepping thing I can do today? And then go do that. And hey, if it's going to the range and taking some target practice because it's been a while, that's great. If it's doing on an ammo run, okay. If it's reloading, cool. If you need to fill your water containers with distilled water from your water distillery because there's a hurricane coming, all right, I'm not afraid of the hurricane. But yeah, I'll keep the water distiller going, and I've still got a few containers that have a little more room. And try to think of a few fun videos to make, bushcrafty trap videos and stuff. And I like reading a lot too. And sometimes I'll just buy a good book on a kind of prepping related topic and just read. Because that's one of the things I like doing too. So, Anyway, okay, so I think I want to have some stuff I want to share with Squib in the after chat that I don't want to do on air. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to try and get the StreamYard up for the next week's show and have a camera that works. So I'm going to be, if anybody has any suggestions for podcasting cameras, let me know. I'm going to go on, I guess, Amazon and look. And I don't know if I order anything, if it'll be here by in a week. But I'll definitely deal with it like by tomorrow. So you leave a comment on this video when it posts, when it renders and posts. And thanks for tuning in, the thumbs up and all the comments and the externals. It's a really cool prepping community that's out there on YouTube. So I hope that somehow some parts of it can stay intact with Google Hangouts going away. I think people could still live stream, but I guess we'll just see. Like Trump says, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of really interesting people you can learn a lot from, and there's just a lot of fun stuff to do. Like, hey, yeah, watch a Mouse Toes cooking video and learn how to cook. I know it's something that I could use some more practice. I mean, there's things I can cook, but she's like so much more knowledgeable than I am on that. It's like, why not watch a few of her videos? Anyway, I'm gonna call this one a night because we got to get to the chopper. Where's my chopper sound effect? Let's see. It's in here somewhere. Get to the chopper. Right, here it is. Go, get to the chopper. And we'll see you next week on StreamYard.